articles. And talk a little bit about that content review. So first, let's walk through cloud safe. Which one do you want to walk through, right? We could walk through how safe is the cloud or the pros and cons of cloud.
Yeah, that one's
Which one
good. Yeah.
This one? How
Yeah.
safe is the cloud?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, first off, so I'm going to put this on you, Rye, and explain what we're looking for in an introduction.
Problem, solution, and then so PAP, and then kind of an introduction into the article.
Yep.
Something
So
like this.
we call it and this is corny, but that's what we call it anyway, Brianna. We call it a peppy introduction. So we're looking for pep. So we want to establish the problem that the reader might have, identify with them right off the bat, establish that problem, and then show you said experience, our solution, but it's really experience. So show our experience and how we've dealt with this before. Maintain some authority so that they understand, like, okay, yeah, I do have this problem, and this person has been through it before. So show that authority, that little bit of expertise, and then preview what's to come. So get those things that are coming from that article. So there's also a lesson that you can check out on Impact Plus if you've had the chance to be in that kind of learning area. Have you had a chance to check out Impact Plus yet? Okay. So if you take a look, so one of my favorite courses in there, and you may have checked this out already, is Liz Moorhead's course. It's the subject matter expert's guide to creating content. And she, in that, talks about different introduction possibilities that you have. And so, we always want to have these peppy introductions that have the problem, the expertise, and the preview. But just because they're in that formula doesn't mean that they can't be widely different. And so one of the ones that it looks like Rye employed here is starting out with a question or starting out with a little story. And so, Rye, you've started out with the blockbuster Netflix with the cloud. And I like what you're doing here because people, it's an interesting fact. What I would say that you could push this a little further is draw that direct connection between the cloud and what caused Blockbuster to fail and Netflix to go so well. So there's kind of that connection between, okay, if my pain point is I've heard about the cloud, but I'm concerned that it's not safe, what does that have to do with Netflix and Blockbuster? So I like that you're introducing the cloud, but then we want to go further with that connection and make sure that, it's in this case, Blockbuster could have said that they didn't think that the cloud was going to work because of safety reasons or because things weren't secure and it was a new way of doing things. You might have those same concerns. One of the key reasons that cloud adoption, so see, there's that little connection between the pain that person has and the story that you're telling. So we just want to make sure that we're drawing that direct string in the narrative that we're doing. So then you talk about that kind of cloud to take stock of what kind of confidential information you place, nice introductory content. And then here at ITS, we help companies migrate to the cloud in the safest, most professional way possible. So what is that in our PEP?
Starts with the P. Preparation.
Starts with the E. It's your expertise.
Oh,
right?
Expertise. Oh yeah.
Here's what we do. Why should you listen to us? Because we help companies migrate to the cloud. Other ways you could say this is, we help companies migrate to the cloud on a daily basis. And many of our clients, when they're coming in, have questions about cloud safety and how secure their data will be when it's hosted in the cloud. In this article, we're going to talk about what it takes with this to make this major transition as seamless as possible. Yeah, but in this article, you're also talking about why the cloud is safe. So remember what our premise is. What are we promising to the reader? Like, you've come in here looking for how safe is the cloud. In this article, we're going to tell you why it's safe, why it's okay, and that you can make this transition seamless and be confident in your choices. So you just want to constantly kind of shout back.
Okay.
I think that intro, you could massage that intro a little bit, draw that connect line, and make sure that the reader fully understands what's coming for them, and what you're going to cover has to do with why they came here in the first place, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So other things that we look for, so beyond the introduction, Rye, what's the next thing that we've talked about the last few weeks that I'm looking for?
The SEO and the headers, the H2s, keywords, SEO, like H2 is keywords.
H2 uses keywords, so we want to make sure that things are structured the right way. So in our headers, that's the best way that we can structure things, and with a nod back to SEO. At this point, ITS is still building things to make sure that the sales team has got things to further their sales. So to further their conversation they have with their prospects. So when sales is talking, they can use these pieces as assignment selling pieces. The other benefit, though, that we're working toward is making sure that not only can people find our things when the salesperson hands it to them, but they can find our materials through organic search. And so we're doing work on keyword research and making sure that we use those keywords in headers so that they show up time and time again. So in the header, what is the cloud? This is a strong keyword. Most people, when they search, tend to scroll through and read those headers first, so that it's a better way to understand how what's to come in the article. Your headers are spot on here. I like that you've got your related articles too, to point people to different things. I think that was good to see. Your images, so images are another good thing that we want to make sure that we've got. In this case, this stock image, and it kind of tripped me up a little bit again here too when I was scrolling through, because we've got the related articles and then I see another header and image. I thought that I was going into another article. This visually looks like the end of an article.
Right.
So
yeah.
And I saw it when you sent this to me the other day, and I just saw it now, oh wait, am I at the end? Knowing full well that I'm not. So part of that is that this image too is a stock photo, so it's not necessarily really buying us anything. I think your stock photos are good
in the beginning
to use up here.
Yeah.
But in this case, with these guys, what is this? How is this furthering people's understanding? Probably not so much.
Okay.
Are there better visuals that you could add?
Videos?
So what sort of visual? Yeah, a video would be great. Yeah. Videos. Do you have images of, if you have images with your team,
like the tech
helping
people,
customers?
Oh yeah. Right.
Something like that would be better. Or if you've got a chart or something, charts or graphs or anything like that could help. That something that you've developed. We'll talk about that in the future too, like different visuals that you'd want to include. A stock photo here, probably not helping you all that much. Unless these are really your teammates, and then in which case a caption saying, like, here's the people you'll be working with. So, and sometimes I've seen like companies include like, here's us working with clients, and they really do look like stock photos. So that caption is helpful because, yeah, I'm thinking of a specific client, especially where like it was so glossy, it almost looked like a movie trailer, because they just like, they had the perfect hair and makeup, and I was like, okay, maybe not stock photos, and they're like, no, that's me. I'm like, oh, wait. So, but captions are good too, when we're dealing with that. So we talked about the headers, the use of related articles to point people to other articles. The other thing you can do, remember, is that you can link in that related section. I love that. And then you can also link within the text. You did that for ransomware and phishing. So, so that people can link to your other things, and these are your articles. That's perfect. So then, Rye, walk me through your conclusion here. I know we talked about conclusions last week.
Right, yeah. So, selecting a manager. So basically, if they are interested in the cloud, then they can email us for more information. Let's see here. Yeah, because it's something that you can't really do by yourself if you're a business owner, and a cloud is like it's a major move for your business. So I was thinking about piquing their interest a little bit and having us contact us, just because it's such a highly technical, concern.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this case, I'm happy with your conclusion. You want your conclusion to do a little bit of a recap. It's a little bit of a callback to what you talked about in the article, but it's also giving people that next step for if they need help. And we want our articles overall to be like 80% educational and no more than 70% selling. But in this case, you can say like, okay, we can help you do this. Here's one of the benefits of using us. Contact us. So I think you've done a nice job with that. How safe is the cloud for business? This is kind of like your recap of that article.
Yeah.
And then we go into like that sales thing. You probably don't even need this other header. You could probably combine these together into one group.
Yeah.
Just by cutting
Okay.
this final get help plea. Because remember, there are many people who will start reading, they'll skim through, and then they'll read that conclusion last. So we want the conclusion to fulfill the promise that we made in the beginning, to answer their question and give them a next step forward. If they only move down to here, they'll just read this and they won't get their answer, even though it's right here. So if they're the type of people who read the conclusion first, we want to make sure that we're guiding them and fulfilling our promise. So I'd say combine those.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah.
Any questions, Brianna, about like this particular article walkthrough? I thought it might be good for you to just see how we walk through some of the specifics that we're looking for, and then I want to kind of talk about a tool to use for content submission. But any questions before we move off of this on anything we've talked about?
So far, no, everything sounds just like what I was learning through the courses that I took for impact on writing the articles. So everything is aligns.
Okay, good.
It sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. And Rye, what about you? Any questions on this article?
Well, I'm
If
glad
you were
we
gonna-
picked this one.
Yeah. solid article, I'd say, keep in mind the direct path in your introductions. Like I can see the improvement that you're doing, but I want to make sure that we're drawing that string, tying the string together from what you're trying to do and how that flows. And so the introduction will continue to massage. I saw that you've got your URL.
Yeah.
You cut out all those little words from the URL.
Yeah, I had fun with those.
So yeah, we're headed in the right direction on that.
Cool.
So here's what I would love, and this is going to be new to Brianna and a little bit of a shift for you to do. So I like that you're sending me things that are published. What I would like to do is, and this is in the homework, every week, Brianna, I have an agenda, and then the agenda's got homework and maybe some resources. And I put the agenda up in Basecamp. So I'll show you Basecamp, and I'll post this agenda up in Basecamp once we jump off the call, as I will with the recording, and hopefully the recordings we can we'll be working. So my ask is to send me an article in advance of publishing using the content cover sheet. And so if we jump into Basecamp, when you log into Basecamp, you'll see, Brianna, you'll see all of these different sections. Basically, docs and files is the main place we're going to hang out in. Docs and files and content training. And so you'll see there's agendas and recordings. Obviously, that's where you can find those things. Content submission is where you'll be submitting content. And this content cover sheet template is what you'll use. And then there's this handy dandy video on how to submit content to me so that I can review it in advance. And ideally, I would get that maybe with 48 hours for me to read it and turn around my comments, and then you to kind of follow through on those comments and then publish. Sure. So send in advance, at least 48 hours before you plan on publishing it, so that I have time to review it and you've got time to make any changes that come out.
Sounds good.
Well, let me show you this content cover sheet. And this, I think, so by doing this for both you and then also for you, Rye, is what I want to do is be able to take a look at that intro before it goes, especially your intros before they go, and say, okay, here's how to tie that string so that we can get some of this stuff shored up before it publishes. And I'd say we've been doing a lot of retro article review. I'd like to see, I can review up to 2 or 3 a week. So maybe if each of you send me one before it gets published, and you'll kind of get into the rhythm of the sorts of things that I'm looking for. But does that would really help, I think. Let you be confident in what you're writing, get into that flow, and you've still got the ability to publish things without me seeing them, but at least you'll have one thing a week that I've reviewed in advance. So this content cover sheet, and basically this is just a template. You'll make a copy and then you'll fill this out. So the things that I look for are to know what 2 or 3 queries that reader is searching for. So in the case of the article that we just wrote, what sort of things would they type into Google in order to find that article? Ryan, I'll ask you that.
How safe is the cloud? How to migrate to the cloud? Is cloud safe for business?
Yeah, perfect. So, I'll take a look at those queries, and then I'll take a look at your title, 1 or 2 titles in there as a variation, and say, okay, sometimes those queries don't match the title at all. And that's not just for you. This is for anyone I look at. Sometimes the queries don't quite match. And it's like, okay, if someone is looking for this problem, but your title is vastly different, how is that going to match up? And would they ever click on that title? All right, so I might make some suggestions that way. The other thing that, and obviously like the URL and the meta we've talked about, I double check that makes sense. But then I take a look at the keywords that you think you're going after. Okay, do those keywords show up in the queries? Do they show up in the title? Are we including them in the URL? And I'll also keep that in mind as I'm looking at what headers you've picked to make sure that that is secure on SEO. Now, again, at this point, we're still writing things for that sales team. So it doesn't have to click into every piece of SEO possible in order to satisfy what the sales team is asking for. But we do want to make sure that if someone is searching for it, they can find it as well. So SEO, like I take a look at or think of SEO as kind of our secondary point. Like our first point is to make sure that the sales team has what they need. But secondary, we want to make sure that there's SEO things to kind of follow up on that. Then I take a look at who is the intended audience. So does this match what the audience needs? And your intended audience might be someone researching to migrate to the cloud, like a small business owner who needs help migrating, something like that. These two tools, the Grammarly score and the Hemingway grade level score, they're both free tools. Grammarly, you can get a paid account, but you can get what you need through Grammarly from the free access. And Hemingway app is a free site. So check in with both of those, and I'd love to see those scores once you've run those scoring in there. And as you start, you may have a score that sits outside of that, and you can point out and say, like, hey, Jen, I see like the Hemingway score is a 10. Can you look for ways to help me bring this down? Or my Grammarly score is like relatively low, but I'm not sure why. Grammarly will tell you how to what some of the problems are. So you can kind of fix it as you go, but I'd be interested in seeing what those scores are. And then you can just paste your article below. And so I can take a look at it. When you do that, it's going to live here in this content submission, and then you can just tag me and say, hey, Jen, this is ready for review. And I show you how to do that in this how to submit content. I think, Ryan, in the past, we've been doing a lot of things in pings, and I want to make sure that if you send me an article in a ping, it doesn't get lost. Mm-hmm. And so being able to find it easily in this content submission and then using this tool of the cover sheet, it's going to help just keep everything like a little bit more organized, and it allows me to get into your head to see where you're trying to frame the article without me having to ping you back and forth too.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Good. So Brianna, we do have, so pings in Basecamp, I don't know how familiar you are with Basecamp, but pings in Basecamp are more like a direct message or a text. And we, Geraldine, Rye, and I we ping back and forth all the time, and you can ping multiple people at the same time as well, so we can all see that. The hey this is basically just like an inbox. So if I tag you, like you can see here for the pricing article feedback, I tagged Rye, and so that tag will show up in his inbox in his hey, and he'll be able to say like, oh, Jen's notified me. I pretty much exclusively work in Basecamp. You can try to email me and I'll see it, but I don't check email all that often. I live and breathe in Basecamp. So, and sometimes if things get really busy and you ping me and you don't hear back, never be shy about pinging me a second time if you've got a question or something, or hey Jen, did you get a chance to see this? Because sometimes the weeks just slip away. I don't know about you, but this week has already seemed like 4 days, and I think we're only in Tuesday morning. So that kind of situation. Questions about content submission or this process?
I did have a really quick one.
Yeah.
Would this be for each article that I write, I would post it in here for you to review, like in the beginning? Or is this just one or two out of the week I would throw in here for you to look at just to make sure that everything looks good and is up to the standard?
So I'd say it's really up to you. What I would really like to see probably in the beginning, even for the next like couple of weeks, is whatever you write, go ahead and put this in here. That way you
Sure.
get a chance to see what I'm looking for, and I can make sure that things are consistent. I would say, like, at this point, you know, we've been working together, the three of us, for a couple months already. I would like to see a few more advanced articles from you, Rye, so that we can make sure that some of this stuff gets shored up ahead of publishing, so that you don't have to go back and make these changes. This is gonna streamline your efforts as well. Even though it's going to be a little bit longer because I'm going to have to review it for, give me a couple days to review, but I'll turn that review around quickly for you, just knowing that you've got that cadence to publish.
Yeah, I've sent you around, I think, 2 or 3 advanced articles. I usually send on a Tuesday, but then it's mostly with ping, so I'm going to try with content this time.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll try and get that
Yeah.
format done. Cool.
Yeah. Adhere to this format. This is what's going. This is
Yeah.
what I think what's going to help the best. And get the content. I like the pings for the back and forth conversation, but pings and content, or content showing up in pings, can easily either get lost or I'm process driven. So stick to this,
Yeah.
and we'll get that. I did want to take a look. I know we're right up against time. Do you have like maybe 3 or so more minutes to hang out with me?
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely.
So I want to take a look at your content home base.
Oh yeah, I've not updated that.
Okay.
When was the
So-
last time? I think this.
What
last
was
time.
that?
What date was the last? Can't see. Was it December?
December.
Okay, I can update that quick.
So we're gonna pop in here for homework,
Yeah.
and we're gonna say try to update content home base. So Brianna, content home base is our editorial calendar, more or less. This is a resource where we can see everything that's been published and everything that's upcoming, and then we can keep track of the potential topics as we build them. So this is a great place as you continue to source topics. You can throw them in here, and then we can prioritize them and decide what's coming up next. So yeah, we can do that. So I would say, Rye, make a priority this week to update this, and make sure that it's going to be easier to assign writing based on this being updated. And we might even want to put a field in, let's see, topic, published. So we have author, but what we might want to do here, like we could do writer, and then that way you can track like who's writing it. Is this going to be Rye? Is this going to be Brianna? Just to make sure that you guys are aligned in what you're writing and when things are due. So again, this sheet is used. This is a tool for you. So use it the way that you need to use it to stay on track. If you want to have like publication deadlines and writing deadlines or draft deadlines, you can do that. I would say this development stage is also really handy because it can show like, okay, who's reviewed it? Is it an impacts review? We can also change that around as well. And I think we could clean that up a little bit. So you can feel free to kind of like change these ranges, and if you change those ranges, it'll just write back to here, and you can see like it changes pretty quickly. So Rye, go ahead and clean this up, and then we'll have a better handle on it. We can kind of take a look at that next week.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Because I'm doing the sandbox as well, so I'm gonna update
Perfect.
this. It's just
Move
perfect.
your sandbox items that
In
you've
there.
agreed
Yeah.
on into here, and then we can get them prioritized.
Yep.
One more thing that I'd want for homework for next week is I would like to start our meetings with a little status report in terms of where we are with those content priorities. So if we have like, okay, within the next, and I did look up that priority, but if, within the next month, we want to be publishing 3 a week. So we're saying we're going to have things, we're going to have 12 articles published by the end of the month, and we are 9 of 12 published, something like that. So if you grab your priorities based on your discussions with Chris, here's our content priorities, and here's what our status is. That would be a great way to kind of start that meeting. And we'll kind of roll along from there. You'll see, I've said next week our topic is going to be the Content Manager Scorecard. I think what we'll do is we'll preview that, and we'll do that the following week. We'll do another article walkthrough next week, just so since it's your first week, Brianna, we can make sure that we can answer any questions that come up for content submission, do an article walkthrough, and then we'll preview this Content Manager Scorecard, which is a new tool that my team is using that I think it's a great way for us to kind of track where we are and where we want to go. So it's something that we're just rolling out. So you're going to be one of my guinea pig clients on rolling out this new tool. But we'll preview that next week, and then the following session we'll fill out that scorecard together. Sound good? I feel like I've thrown a lot at you, so I want to make sure if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me now or use the pings.
I guess I had one quick one, and it was for next week with the article walkthrough. Would that need to be an article from me, or are we just going to walk through another article and just go what we're looking for and how we want it structured? And
why don't we make that one from you? So, and it can be an article walkthrough, and it can be something that is still in draft form as well. So that, I'll have my comments back to you, but I'm happy to walk through something with the comments in draft form, so it doesn't have to be a published piece.
Okay. Sounds good.
Good. Sound good, Geraldine? You've been quiet today.
Yep, sounds good. Just my cat has been bringing me gifts alive.
Oh no.
Yes. So,
Uh-oh.
and that's bring you live animals.